Holly had mentioned, she knows I'm a big soccer fan, and
Oh,
I've been watching Wrexham FC, or and
welcome to Wrexham.
welcome to Wrexham. Thank you. Welcome to Wrexham. And Elton was, before Wrexham, there was Elton bought Watford, and he created his own
Mhm.
amazing soccer team that he grew up watching. Uh,
Yeah, that must be a thrill for when you're a kid to go see your favorite sports team and then later you actually own the team. I mean, what kind of thrill would that be? I know some people end up owning teams, but it's maybe not necessarily the team they grew up watching. But yeah, you
Right.
think of Elton as a kid with his dad going through, or stepfather, going through taking the train and walking through the street to the stadium and watching the show or the game, not the show. Just how important that was to him and how he kept statistics on the football scores, like he kept statistics on the record chart scores. So yeah, that was a big deal for him when he could finally purchase Watford and just getting more involved in the club. I like some things he mentioned in his autobiography about that. His first stint as owner, because I think he's stepped down and become president on more than one occasion. But anyway, that first stint, he said that they didn't really give him any special concessions because he was Elton John and didn't
Yeah.
fawn over him excessively, and that they expected him to do his part and pull his weight. And he mentioned how one time he came to a game with a bad hangover because this is still in the 70s, it's during his drinking period. And he said the team manager just chewed him out for it later for his behavior and saying, you let the club down. And he said no one in his own entourage would have dared say anything like that to him,
Yeah.
but he felt ashamed because he knew it was right. He deserved the dressing down. So yeah, it kind of took him out of that showbiz world as well. That was sort of an interesting kind of side benefit for him.
That is a good point, Dave, about being passionate about something as opposed to it just being an investment. He was obviously passionate about it. And I love that description about walking through town, getting to the
Yeah, yeah, joining the
stadium.
other fans and finding your place to
Yeah.
stand in the
Yeah.
terraces, which I couldn't stand to do that. When I went to England the first time, I was taken to a football match and we go in the stands and you have to stand. And it was just awful. I mean, there aren't even any seats. I know I watch games now and people stand and I don't understand it because you have a seat. But in this match I went to in England, there wasn't that option. You just stand there and it was so awful because I never liked standing for a long period of time, even though I was younger then. And so yeah, I just never went to another match. No, this is not for me.
so you don't go to general admission shows, I guess. Is that?
Um, Not for a while, no.
Yeah.
Or I know a couple times when I was reviewing a show, it was general admission, but you were in the stands. I remember saying to the PR, I needed a ticket for the stands and not the main floor because I'm not going to stand the whole time. I know one of the last big shows I went to at well, I guess it was still Safeco Field. It's T-Mobile Park now. They changed the names with the sponsors. Anyway, it was a Foo Fighters show, and I had a seat in they actually did have reserved seats for the stands anyway. So I was sitting in the stands, and I remember looking behind at one point, and all these people are standing behind me, and I think, why? You don't see any better. And the funny thing was that we're in a baseball stadium, so the stage is out by third base or something. It's way out in the outfield. I swear we were probably a quarter mile away. That's what it seemed like. So their standing is not going to make any difference, really. Um,
Oh.
so that was funny. It's interesting watching when you go to shows with say an older audience because I just saw Ringo Starr this last week. I saw him on the 11th, so that must have
Lucky
been the
you.
week before. I saw
Yeah.
him in the brief window where he didn't have COVID because he had COVID and canceled his shows up to the 9th, and then he started again in Seattle on the 11th. But a few days later, he said he had COVID again, so the rest of the tour was canceled. So I got to see him and a nice place in Benaroya Hall, which is a symphonic hall. Um, and maybe if it was a younger crowd, people would have stood the whole time, but not this time. It's kind of older, and so people would stand up for some numbers, and then you're all sitting down for others.